Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Listen, I might have to join in and jump on the bandwagon about the people who say this might be the best World Cup ever. Because they might be right, you know. I thought the group stage was insane. But now this? Now this? Are we serious? I thought I had my emotions crushed when Austria played Algeria. I thought my emotions were cooking when England played Panama. But now this? We're 2 games into the knockouts, lads. And I tell you what, this is insane. This is truly, truly insane. As you can maybe recognise, I'm repping the Brazil shirt, but we'll get to them later, okay? But first, I want to shout out Canada, man. Canada is truly, in build up to this World Cup, I'm like, okay, they're one of the host nations. Not that bad, you know? But they're not great necessarily. They're not that bad, but they're not great. And now this? They dominated the game. Granted, it was South Africa, but the way they played, Jesse Marsch has gotten playing ball that I'm liking a lot. Let me tell you that for free. But at the same time, I've got to give credit to South Africa because they gave Canada a proper game as well. Waited for the counters, and they were dangerous as well, man. Don't get it twisted. And the game on a lot of, stats, if you're a stats guy, was very, very balanced. Very balanced, right? And both teams had a chance of getting through. I'm going to say it how it is. Because, as I say, South Africa gave Canada a run for their money. But then it was a devastating last minute goal from their captain. I can't think of his name. But Canada advance, and they've got a lot of potential this World Cup, especially with Alphonso Davies coming back. This could be the start of something great for Jesse Marsch and his men. I'm not going to lie to you. But, yeah, as I say, I like Canada during the group stages as well. 6 goals against Canada with Jonathan David scoring a hat-trick. Good on him. And then they played Bosnia. That was a weird game. That was a weird game, especially because they had, big chances and just didn't score them. And then the game against Switzerland was a very, very good game. Arguably one of the best games in the tournament by that point, in my opinion. Right? But yeah, as I say, Canada have a lot of potential, and we'll just see what happens, going further into this World Cup. But all I can say is I'm very, very excited. Okay. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to LA. We move on from Vancouver to LA as Brazil took on Japan. And I tell you what, this, I can only repeat myself, this is insane. Because what happened to Brazil in the first half, Brazil literally, from 20 years ago, went from samba football to sleepy dust football, It was absolutely awful. Absolutely atrocious from a Seleção point of view. And just not enough. just not enough. And Japan, man, I've got to give a shout out to Japan. Because I was saying to people, I was like, hey, watch your back against Japan. Because I remember watching the Dutch take on Japan, and I said, hey, you guys need to watch your back, because if there is one thing about the Japanese, they can run for days. They can run for days, and they proved that tonight. And they proved that, you know. It's just such a shame for them, and as I say, such an emotional, you know, crushing stone for Martinelli to score in that final minute. Because, to be honest, in the way Japan ultimately flew out of this tournament and are flying home to Tokyo, they did not deserve to lose. They didn't deserve to lose. They at least deserved extra time, right? Because they were playing very, very, very well. And especially for that first half, Brazil, A, didn't do enough on the ball, and B, contained Japan. Because, as I say, the strengths of the Japanese, and they're being overlooked, but the strengths of the Japanese are they can run for days, they press like hell, and their counter-attacking, right, their counter-attacking is insane. Truly insane. Okay, and you can see with every counter that, you know, they were causing Brazil problems. And this is, as I say, soul crushing for Japan. But yeah, you know, football's like that, I guess. And no, but what they can do, the Japanese, is, you know, fly home with their heads held high, because they gave Brazil a proper fight. But from a Brazil point of view, let me tell you something. That first half, as mentioned, absolutely atrocious. Absolutely awful, considering the quality they have in their squad. You know, too static, no real enthusiasm, no nothing, you know? And that's why, arguably, in my opinion, Japan dominated the first half. Because they were ready to run that extra yard and to you know, go for the tackle. And, you know, but as I say, that first half from Brazil, absolutely atrocious, awful, and disgusting. You know, there was Ronaldinho, Rivaldo, and Roberto Carlos in the stadium. They would have probably held their heads in shame. Because what they remember Brazil to be back then, it's not that now. Brazil have fallen off a cliff, let me tell you that. Quality-wise, anyway. But that second half was a lot better. That solo dribbling from Vinny, and I've been very critical of Vinny, but that solo dribbling, you know, where he goes past the Japanese midfielder and then almost pokes at him with the outside of his foot, absolutely beautiful, but absolutely disgusting at the same time. Because the touch he takes to absolutely send the Japan defender to the shop is, as I say, the dribbling disgusting. In my opinion, unlucky that, you know, Vinny didn't score, but it was an amazing dribble, right? And you know, and then Gabriel Martinelli with a last minute winner, of course, and Neymar watching from the sidelines for the entirety of 90 minutes. As I say, Gabriel Martinelli with a last minute winner, which, as I say, and as I've mentioned in this vid, is absolutely soul crushing for Japan. But let me tell you another thing. If there's 3 things that are certain in life, it's death, taxes, and that Casemiro scores a header. right? No matter if you're a Man United fan or if you're a Brazil fan, you know that is a certainty in your Brazil squad. That Casemiro scores a header. As I say, part of one of the 3 certainties in your lifetime. Death, taxes, and that Casemiro scores a header. But ultimately, lads, Brazil and Canada advance to the round of 16. And all I can say is, damn. The knockout stages are here, boys. So strap yourselves in and get ready, because we're in for some juicy, juicy football matches. Okay? But, ladies and gentlemen, for tonight, I'm saying thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and also turn on the post notifications and hype the video also, so you don't miss any future World Cup content. And with that, I'm saying thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.